Hi, my name is Layla Perry, and you're watching Under the Covers, my show about the risks taken, the mountains climbed, and the victories behind some of the biggest game changers shaping culture and entertainment today. Our next guest's illustrious career is etched in entertainment history. Renowned as Beyonce's dance captain for an astounding 17 years, Ashley's fame is rare amongst even the best dancers in the world. She was one of the two dancers who can claim the legacy of starring in the iconic Single Ladies video alongside Beyoncé, which has garnered 1 billion views on YouTube alone. She has since seamlessly transitioned into acting and modeling and just launched her own company, Be Greater Than. Please welcome to Under the Covers, Ashley Everett.
Oh my gosh.
So nice to have you here.
Introduction.
What a
beautiful.
Story. Oh man.
Thank you.
It's actually, I was thinking about it on my way over here. It's pretty surreal and beautiful to have you on the show because every time I was filming an episode, people would say, like, what made you start this show? And I said, well, people look at Beyonce and they think Beyonce was born Beyonce. Jay-Z was born Jay-Z, Steve Jobs was born Steve Jobs. But behind that legacy was a little kid in grade school at some point. With a dream. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you're on here is really, really cool.
Full circle.
It is very full circle, yeah. So I want to go back to the beginning of your story. What was your childhood like? Were you just obsessed with dancing in your diapers? Like, how did that go?
Yeah, so I'm from Northern California originally. Chico, shout out to
Chico State.
Yeah, exactly. I know, girl. So crazy. But born and raised up there. My mom put me in dance very young, 2.5, like right in ballet class. I think because
Was she a dancer?
She was in the arts. She always was a singer, a dancer, a performer, lived in Hollywood at one point, was just out here, I guess, trying to make it, trying to be like a triple threat or like whatever, And so she's like my number one fan. Like, I feel
Must be so proud.
You'll see her online after this for sure. She's all over everybody's social medias, but I feel like she lives a little bit vicariously through me because of that in her. And so when she had a little girl, because I have 2 brothers and I'm the baby, she was like, I'm gonna put her in dance.
Wow.
And I just naturally like fell into it. I'm very focused. I'm like a focused, quiet person. I'm an observer. So I just was quiet, and ballet is, stricter and, a little more like stern and stuff than hip hop and jazz and whatnot. So yeah, it gave me that discipline very early, and I just was into it. It was like pulled, and eventually I went into jazz, hip hop, tap. I started competing. I was in a ballet company and I was on a hip hop company, and my hip hop company would do competitions, and that was like all the funky stuff. And then ballet, I would do like Nutcrackers and Cinderellas like every holiday season.
Wow.
Crazy.
So, like, from an hour of the week perspective, like, how many hours a week were you dancing as a little kid?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I look at it, I wasn't thinking about it like hours like that.
Right.
But I feel like I was at dance more than I was at school and at home.
Wow.
So I would go to school obviously like 7:30, 8 in the morning, and then be there till about 2:33, and I would go straight to dance after that. Like, my first class would be at like 3:30, and sometimes I'd be there till like 11 o'clock at night, like rehearsing, and then I would go home and do my homework, whatever that meant. As a kid, it was like my job. But that's why I say it was like having your kids in something is so good for discipline. It does teach you how to be a good worker later in life,
Completely.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because I actually feel like a lot of people that have risen to immense success, they didn't start that young. They started maybe like high school, and that's still considered really young, or college. And some of them, like, we had a guest on the show, like, he was broke at 33 and now is huge.
Yeah,
and
insane.
I feel like from your perspective, let's just say you were at that point in high school, the level of skill set that you'd already developed as like a 17-year-old girl probably felt so good. I bet you were just walking to every room and like knowing that you would blow the competition out of the water.
I wasn't that confident yet. Even when I was 17 when I booked Beyonce. I was still a senior in high school. Yeah.
What? How old was she at the time?
I think she's 8 years older than me, so 24. 5-ish.
And Destiny's Child was already huge.
Destiny's Child was huge, and she had just like started her solo career.
Okay.
So like when I auditioned, it was her first ever solo tour, and
Wow.
like I think her second solo album that she
Wow.
was doing, and I did some videos for that, which led into tour.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I wasn't really that confident yet because I was always a student. You know, I didn't really have the stage experience or the that experience really to give me the confidence. Even though I was on stage a lot all the time, but they were always performances, like I said, like Nutcrackers or competitions, which did help build my confidence a lot, especially once I started winning, or I would, go to conventions and win like most well-rounded dancer. And
Wow.
that totally explains like my life now, because I am always talking about like having your eggs in many baskets and being well-rounded, even to dancers that I mentor, so.
Within the realm of dance.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
So not like having a plan B necessarily. Or do
Not
you believe in
necessarily.
plan Bs?
I mean, I believe in having your eggs in many baskets.
Okay.
So, not necessarily a plan B, but something else to fall on to, or many other things to fall onto.
Was there a moment in your life where you either wished you had a plan B or you were like so grateful that you did have a plan B?
Well, injuries are a big one for dancers. So I went through my first injury in 2009, and that was like my first little shake up. That's like, ooh, what if, this could be taken away real quick in 1 second. So
Yeah.
that I think was the beginning of me being like, okay, I need to do other things as well as dance.
Yeah.
And not just only dance.
Yeah.
But not necessarily. I mean, yeah, I guess so, actually. In this industry in general, like one day you might think you have a job like coming up. I think I'm going to be on a TV show or something for the next 4 months. And then like, oh, sorry, we're going a different direction.
Yeah.
And, it's just like done like that. And so then you have to pivot. You're like, I thought I was going to be working. Or even the beginning of this year, great example, I was kind of in between whether I wanted to go on tour or not. And like that was like, okay.
With Beyonce?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What a privilege.
Because this was my first tour since 2007 that I did not do.
Okay.
So yeah.
So you made the choice not to?
Yes.
So, okay, I love this because the show's really about like the risks, the challenges, the mindset. So it's like, I feel like most people would give their right arm to go on tour with Beyonce.
Absolutely.
So what was the risk and reward that you wanted to make that made you say no?
So the risk I was taking was betting on me for once, because I had poured so much into my career and also into Beyonce. Like I started with her when I was 17. I turned 34 this year. That is exactly half of my life, 17 years, So I was like, ooh, this is a big like pivot point. We also hadn't been on tour since 2018. There was a whole pandemic in between.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of personal growth, and just like we've all grown and gotten older, and we're not getting any younger.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was like, okay. And I also had a lot of time during the pandemic to spread my eggs out in more baskets and pour into my own cup in different ways that I never had, and explore different avenues that I've always been interested in, and thrive in those avenues too, which excited me so much. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is new to me, Tour I love, but tour is not new to me. I don't even know how many since 2007.
Wow.
So of course it's an incredible opportunity, but I was looking for opportunities I hadn't done yet.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like life is about trade-offs. So
yeah,
I imagine Beyonce's almost constantly touring, minus, of course, like pandemic and maybe while she's writing an album.
Yeah, or like shooting visuals or something like that, of course.
Yeah, interesting. So from like a personal perspective, did you ever feel like the trade-off was really hard when you were, for example, on tour? I imagine it would be really hard to have like a significant other or like close proximity with your friends and things like that. Like, did you ever feel the sacrifice or the weight of that?
Yeah, I definitely started feeling it on the last like couple tours I did, like 2016, 2018. It felt like a huge sacrifice. I have nieces and nephews, and I would just blink, I feel like, and I'm like, wow, I've missed how many birthdays
Wow.
and how many holidays and how many family dinners and then funerals and then
Ooh, yeah.
people just aren't getting any younger, like I
Yeah.
said. So it's a huge sacrifice touring. Just working with artists in general, this industry in general is a sacrifice. But yeah, so I definitely started to feel that. And I'm in my 30s now. And so I wanted like a little bit more consistency, and I want to see my family more often. My parents, are up north, and I want to visit them as much as possible. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So you mentioned something that haunts me, which is that we're not getting any younger.
Yeah.
And I feel like as a woman in any like area of entertainment, there's a very heavy pressure about like not being 16 or not,
Yeah.
I feel like even from like a record label perspective, and the reality is like art is art, and the value of art isn't actually like, for example, if you're listening to a song, you're not seeing the person, you're just hearing their story or their music. So I'm curious how you navigate that, how you feel about that. Like, do you care about your age?
Oh, I mean, gosh, I don't really care too much because I honestly feel like I'm like getting younger.
You look like you're getting younger. I've never seen you before, but
thank you.
You're so beautiful.
I think I just take like way better care of myself now because I like have the knowledge and experience of not, and then now doing so. And so it's like, I feel good. I work out. I like have a morning routine and a night routine. And like we care about our skin and our hair and our teeth. And, like it's just a new day of self-love.
Yeah.
It's really that,
Amazing.
So yeah, I don't care too much, but there is so much pressure for women, especially if you don't have any children yet. I don't know if you do.
No.
But I don't know.
Oh yeah, okay.
I do not. And
what do you think about that specifically? Do you have a partner?
I do. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I have a boyfriend.
Okay.
He's the same. We're the same age, and we're not engaged or anything yet, but we talk about it, and we talk about children, but we also don't feel like we're in a huge rush, but we're not getting younger, and we're like reminded of that all the time. It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So, but I feel like being in.
Do you feel like you'd have to stop your career to have a baby?
I was talking to a friend of mine recently about that. She's a designer and like stylist. And she was like, if you have a good partner as well, like, and you guys can do it together, she's like, I say have a baby because all you got to do is just take the baby with you. A few things change, things take more time, but you can do it. And I'm like, well, girl, I don't know if a baby can come to dance rehearsal.
Yeah.
But
the blasting music.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But even though we're
and it's very physically hard on a woman, obviously.
I know, yeah. But I've seen it done before. I've seen my other dancer friends do it, and they just make it happen. So
I love that. I would love to see behind the scenes of that.
I know. It's a whole show.
That must be a whole show.
Yeah.
So, okay, take me back to when you were 17. Was that the first time you auditioned to... Like, that was the first audition you ever had?
No, that was just my first audition for Beyonce, though.
Okay.
But not my first audition I ever had. It was just... So I guess I'll rewind you back. I was dancing at Alvin Ailey, which is like a prestigious modern and ballet studio. And they also have a company in New York. I moved to New York when I was 16.
By yourself?
With my mom.
Okay.
But my parents are in real estate. And so my parents got me a condo. My dad and my parents, both of them came out, set me up. And then my dad came back to help raise my brother, even though he was 18.
So your parents were together, but they decided to separate locations for the love of their kids.
Yes, and to sacrifice for my career.
Love parents. My parents are like
I know.
that.
I know, it's crazy. And then once I turned 18, my mom moved back and went, she's like, I'm going back to my husband, girl. You're on your own.
Yeah.
I was like, all right. But I had already been on tour and stuff at that point. So I'm like, we're grown. We know what we're doing.
Wow. Okay. So they set you up. What part of New York? I live in New York.
In Midtown.
Okay.
Yeah.
And was there any prospect over there, or was it just to get out of Chico?
It was because I had outgrown Chico as a dancer, and my
Which,
parents
by the way,
really...
Chico is like the smallest little town in California.
It is.
For most people who I feel like don't know where that is.
It is. Yeah.
Not a lot of opportunity, I imagine.
Definitely not.
Okay.
And a little backstory, too. I had started at 12 years old. I started doing summer intensives at really prestigious ballet schools or like modern schools. I went to Dance Theater Harlem, the Kirov Ballet, New York City Ballet, Juilliard, ABT, every summer intensive ballet you can think of. If you ever seen Center Stage, I used to think like that was going to be my life. I was like, I'm going to be a ballerina.
Wow. And
then I was like, there's not a lot of brown ballerinas out there. So I was like, let me be realistic. And I went to modern because I'm like, this is realistic, unfortunately.
Really?
In that lane, in the concert world. It's crazy. But yeah, so I was already traveling, and as I was doing those summer intensives, I learned a lot, like going to New York every summer or DC or wherever I was. And so by the time I was 16, I had really
So you were actually a working kid in some ways.
Yes, definitely.
Which I respect.
I
started my first business at 12. You have to hustle young, I feel like.
You do. Yeah.
If you want to fall in love with if you're doing it not because you have to do it, but because you want to do it.
Yeah.
Like I just loved starting companies when I was 12 years old. I had a makeup thing.
Good for
had a
you.
Baking business. All these things I don't do, of course, at all whatsoever now.
I know.
But I loved it.
It taught you something though, and it taught you hustle and grind.
Hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Hustle's important.
It is.
Okay, so you were already doing all the, in a way, prep work to be qualified for that opportunity.
100%. Yeah.
And did your mom help you find an agent, or how did you come across?
I actually didn't have an agent, but my mom is a huge reason why I even went to the Beyonce audition. I was at Alvin Ailey. I was in a leotard and tights about to go to ballet class or something. And Beyonce was rehearsing there. Alvin Ailey is one of the nicest studios in New York. So she would rehearse there often, or celebrities in general when they were prepping for award shows and stuff like that.
Cool.
So she was there, and whispers were in the halls oh my God, there's a celebrity here. There was security standing outside. So everybody was oh my God, who is it? Who is it?
Yeah.
And her choreographer was in the hallway too at the same time, and passed by, and he just noticed me. He noticed me because of my looks. If we're being completely honest, he was you're very beautiful. Do you do more than ballet? I see you do ballet. Do you do more than that? And I was like, yes, actually, I do hip hop, I tap, I do modern, I do jazz, whatever. Wow. And he was come in here, I want you to meet somebody. And he just invited me. I know, isn't that crazy?
Chills. Oh my God.
Yeah. And he invited me in, and Beyonce was in there in the studio rehearsing. She was barefoot. Her hair was out like mine, but all the way down.
Yeah.
And she was sweating. I thought she was a dancer, just a dancer rehearsing, because she wasn't all glammed up and literally barefoot, just going over her steps.
Wow.
And he introduced me to her. She gave me a hug. She was so sweet. And he took my information and was I'm going to give you a call. I might have some opportunities for you, blah, blah, blah. This is Frank Gatson. He's a father mentor of mine in this industry since then.
But he's Beyonce's choreographer.
Yes, at this time. This is in 2006.
Oh my gosh, what a story. Mm-hmm. And were you nervous? Did you know what was happening?
No, of course I didn't know what was happening to the capacity of what it was, but I was just yeah, I'm down. Call me. Here's my information. Anything,
wow.
Let me know. I'll come audition, da-da-da.
Wow.
And he never called because this is the industry, the world, whatever. Imagine how many phone numbers if he called everybody. I don't know, whatever. He just didn't call.
Okay.
But a few months later, there was an audition happening for Beyonce.
But how did you know about that?
Being at the dance studios, they used to have news clippings and stuff back in the day, girl. Yeah. This is before social media and stuff that, when we would put stuff on social media. So they would have this news article, I think it was called Backstage Magazine.
Yep.
And it would be auditions, Broadway stuff or whatever. And people talk fat, a lot. It was talk. So everybody was the Beyonce audition. It was an open call. Mm-hmm. I'm oh my gosh, that means anyone could go. Anyone off the street could just be hey, I like to dance, and it was that. The line was down the block and around the corner.
Wow.
And I was I don't want to go stand in that line. That's crazy. My mom was girl, just go. Yeah. Just go. You got nothing to lose, So that was always her thing. Just go. You have nothing to lose. You can just learn something from it at the end of the day.
So this is an interesting thing because I woke up at 2 a.m. PST time in New York yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I flew in, and I basically had to go straight from the airport to a studio session, wrote the song to pitch to the artist. It's a huge artist overseas.
Yeah.
On the plane. Came in with the idea.
You're professional.
Yeah, exactly. He loved the idea. I had a feeling he would love the idea. But then I had to record it, and I was so physically exhausted. And there's these moments where you're like, wow, I love this experience. This is so surreal. I'm so grateful for this opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But like in the moment, it's not as convenient, exciting, glamorous as you want it to be, because you're just physically tired, or there's something like a really long line. And I'm curious if like when you were in that line, did you have this moment where you're like, I'm wasting like 3 hours standing on this block in New York while all these random people go? I'm probably not even going to get it. Maybe
Absolutely.
I won't.
Like, what are we doing here? And girl, this is in November in New York. So God. It was cold. Yeah. Like, I don't think it was snowing, but it felt like it could have been, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I stood in line for 3 hours, and I cut with friends. So
wow.
People were in line for 8 hours. Like,
wow.
Crazy.
Just for the and how many people were they? Just one? Or how many people were they?
I really do feel like I'm like one of, if not one, maybe a few who were like chosen from that audition.
Wow.
Because it was worth it for me, because he recognized me. He was like, I remember you.
Oh.
And I looked different. I was like, commercial dancer that day. I wasn't in my leotard and tights and bun. Yeah. My hair was in a ponytail, and I had on like, I think army pants or something and heels. And, I was there like show out, makeup on, whatever. And he recognized me.
Wow.
That's why the risk, risk and the reward, Yeah. And timing and preparation, all of that like falls into play.
Yeah. Wow. And when you were a little kid, did you think that this is what your dream was going to be?
When I was a little kid, I remember watching music videos, like Janet Jackson in particular. She used to have so many music videos, and I would watch the dancers, and I'd be like, how do I do that? Like, how do I be in that with her? And all of her videos always looked like her dancers were her friends. Like, they would always have like an acting scene and then like hit a dance move.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, they must be friends. And I'm not friends with any celebrities. So I guess I'm not going to be in any music videos.
Interesting.
That's what I thought. And then I learned about, the industry and agents and all of that, auditions, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But yes, I did want to do this. And then I obviously was in ballet and, competing and stuff. So I at one point thought I was going to be a ballerina, and like I didn't know where I was going to go. I thought I almost went to Juilliard, like,
Wow.
So
to just train more.
Yeah.
Wow. It's so interesting, because I feel like the acting world is very similar, where the upfront investment is a lot of time and a lot of money, because you're actually paying to get your skill set to be so sharp to have an opportunity.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of other, I guess you go to college, but like that's a 3 or 4 year period, maybe 6 years, depending on like the profession.
Yeah. But the money invested from like my family, who was doing it for me since I was 3, basically,
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, really the money spent probably started around like 9 when I was like competing. That's when the costumes and all that come around.
Right.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So when you got that gig, did you feel like, wow, I've made it, I can die happy? Or
oh my gosh. No, of course not. No, this is in 2007, so like, I'm like, I got one opportunity, amazing. Like, we need more. Okay. Like, I need to do all of them.
So it wasn't a full-time job?
No, no, it was a gig. Like, first I got hired for a music video, and it was out here in LA, actually. They were like, are you willing to come out? We'll fly you out to LA, put you in a hotel. And I'm like 17 at the time. I'm in high school still. I'm like, my mom can't come, obviously. I think I might have told him I was 18, just to get the opportunity to. So I'm like, whew, okay, we just got to be grown now. And I did. I like flew from New York. We had roommates, because it was like a good amount of people who came from New York. She was shooting like 10 music videos in like 14 days or something like that. And I was in 2 of them.
Wow.
And then after that, they asked me to go on tour.
Wow.
And then
that's incredible.
I remember like being in tour rehearsals too. And nothing ever felt like I was guaranteed or comfortable. Like, this is the reason why. Because even when I came out here to do the music videos, like I said, they were shooting like 10 videos in 14 days, and they didn't know who was going to be in what. So every day was like an audition, you're like, and there were like 40 dancers, just like a pool of dancers to picked from to be in stuff. Wow. So it was like, that was my introduction to the industry. I'm like, oh, you got to just fight for your life in everything and prove that you deserve to be there. Like, okay, let's go. So I was just showing up. And like I said, I'm a quiet observer, dancer. So and then I just do what needs to be done.
Were you scared as far as like sometimes the competition, like you want to become friends with people, but if I'm not a dancer, so I'm just assuming, I have no idea. I think it's very different with singing because everybody's their own apple and orange. But did it kind of feel like you can't let your guard down because everybody wants the same job?
Yeah, it does feel like that. Yeah.
Still.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Everybody does want the same job. So it's very competitive. Yeah. And, and it's even, Randy and I talk about this a lot, like with rates and stuff and how like secretive people are with rates and what they ask for in the dance industry, especially because now that I'm in other worlds and like influencers are much more open. They're like, girl, ask for more. Yeah. This brand got a lot of money, but dancers are like gatekeepers. And it's like, that's why we're struggling out here, is because no one knows how to even ask for their worth or what their worth is, you know? So,
and do you feel like when the opportunity is so big that anybody would, for example, like for the Coldplay show, like I obviously got paid, but I was like, I would pay that amount to you for this opportunity.
Do you know how many people say that all the time? They're like, I would pay to dance with Beyonce, or pay to do her hair, or pay to, be up there with her.
But do you ever feel like, let's just say they were, like in theory, underballing you on the rate? Mm-hmm. How do you navigate that when it's like, that you're worth more, but you don't want to turn away a good opportunity? Do you ever deal with that, or do you just
I mean, that's when you have to decide, like, weigh out your pros and cons. Like, is it worth it? Am I learning something from this? Is this going to lead to future opportunities? Is it an investment in myself and my brand? Like, very much that. So, I go through that a lot, especially with dance stuff. Dance stuff is like the lowest paying thing. Like,
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's unfortunate.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang. So that was when you were 17. So in the last 17 years, was your life like your predominant role was Beyonce's dancer, or like what?
At 17?
Yeah, like in the last 17 years. Like,
in the last 17 years.
Have you had to do things beyond that? Like,
yeah, well, no, I have been a commercial dancer for the last 17 years.
Okay.
But I've also been Beyonce's dance captain. So, but I was never on payroll to only work for her. So like, and the only time we would be is when we're on contract for a tour. And those are only, so long. And then once that's over, it's free game again. Like, that's why I've done TV shows. I've worked with other artists. I've gone on other people's tours. I've done, all the award shows. Like, you gotta move on to the next gig, you know?
Yeah, that's so interesting.
It's crazy. That's why I'm like, you have to have other things to fall on, because it's like, it might be amazing to be on tour, but as soon as that tour's over, they're like, peace. And, that's just how it is. Like, it's not anything personal. That's just the way it works, So
that's
you
so
have to
interesting.
Be smart with your money, or like always be working to continue to make money. You know what I mean?
But as a dancer, has there ever been a moment where you're like, I don't have to worry anymore about getting future gigs? Not that you don't want to work, but that it's no longer a grind or a struggle.
Yeah, I've reached a point, I reached that point where I didn't have to audition anymore. Okay. Like, I feel like one of those points where you're like, oh, okay, the grind has like kind of calmed down now, because people just call and book you, or call your agent and say, hey, is Ashley available for this? And it's like, great. I don't have to like, run around town and prove myself all the time. Yeah. So that's definitely like rewarding.
And when did that happen? After Single Ladies? Before?
I would say, like a couple years into working with Beyonce. So after Single Ladies, after that tour.
Was that at the beginning?
That was in 2009, and I started with her in 2007. So
wow. So you were like 19.
Yeah, I was 19
in that video.
Single Ladies came out. Yeah.
Wow.
I know, like a little girl talking about, if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. Like, what, girl? What are you talking about?
Crazy. It's so interesting. I remember the first time I started modeling when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And
I did too when I was in New York, like at 16 and stuff.
It's kind of fun when you're
young. And
when you're young. I was like, wow, I'm so cool.
It taught me a lot. Like, yeah, walking into rooms and like castings and stuff, it's so intense. And you're like,
I agree, but I feel like it taught me a lot about charisma.
Yeah.
Because my first gig that I booked was like this Adidas worldwide print campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never auditioned before. I went in and I feel like I charmed. I don't think I really earned that on like the merits of my like looks. I feel like it was because I had so much fun with it and they really enjoyed the audition. And I feel like you have to be yourself. And it was so surreal to get that opportunity. And I remember when I got the call that said I booked it, I was on my parents' driveway at the time. And I just like, after the phone call was done, I like literally like just like jumped and like ran around in a circle. And I was like so excited.
Yeah.
Did you like, when you are getting these contracts or dream contracts, like, are you actually taking a moment to celebrate it and to like soak it in? Or does it kind of feel like, okay, I can breathe now?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't used to soak it in, and I wouldn't, what's the word I'm looking for? Process it at all, because we would be moving on so fast. Like we would be moving on to the next, like we shoot something and then it's like we have a show the next day, or like, you know, just move. And then it comes out and you're like, whoa, I forgot we even did that, you know?
Wow.
But now that I'm older, I've found a lot more balance in my life in general. And I love to, you know, take the time to really process what I've just done and enjoy it. And, you know, try to be like more in the moment, because it's hard. Even like still today, like I work in the TV world a lot more now versus like being on tours so physically demanding. Like I can do TV and go home and go to my own bed and then like still shoot content and be an influencer and still dance and have a life and take care of my dogs. And, you know, so that was like the sacrifice and the choice I chose this year, but it's like really paid off for me. And I'm so grateful that I did that. But in like TV and commercial world and stuff, you know, you're shooting Christmas stuff in the summer and then you're shooting summer stuff when it's freezing outside in a swimsuit, you know, so you're always like ahead or like moving on. It's very hard to be present.
Wow.
So I really try to be intentional about that now.
About being present?
Presence, yeah.
How do you do it though?
How do I do it?
Because, for example, like this week is so packed from like the work perspective, and there's a part of thanks for being on the show, by the way.
No, I'm happy to be here. It's great.
No, I'm happy to have you. But I just feel like sometimes it's like you want to be present, but you also have to do the work.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like for example, a couple weeks ago, I was singing at MetLife Stadium doing the national anthem for a football game, but
I want to come to one.
It was so fun. It was like the Jets versus Chiefs, and it was really surreal.
Amazing.
But I remember right before I went on stage thinking, okay, Layla, I know you want to soak in this moment, but just like think about the technique when you're doing it, because you don't want to like mess up the national anthem
and then regret it
in front of like Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, right, because she's out there.
Yeah, she was there, and it was. I was like, okay, so I did, but it almost feels like I was dropped into a water slide, came out of the water slide like 2.5 minutes later, however long the song is.
Totally.
And I don't really remember it. Like, I don't really remember singing the national anthem. I remember singing everything else, and I felt like for a whole week afterwards, I had this like glow and this excitement. And it was only maybe like 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks ago. I hardly like remember it. It's almost like a movie I watched at one point. That you even
did it, right?
Yeah. And I feel like that's actually kind of hard, because you think like, I want to hold on to these moments.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I try now to like celebrate every little like milestone or anything that I feel like is worth celebrating. And I try to also like really take time off. Intentional time off, even if it's just at home doing absolutely nothing, you know, or going to my favorite winery or something like that, you know. But like intentional celebrations, intentional time off. And then that is like your moment to recap and be like, we just did that. That's amazing, you know?
Yeah.
Or like whatever is best for you, you know?
I love
Hiking,
that.
nature. I love nature too. Nature's a big one.
I love
Being
that.
outside.
That's amazing. We're going to do some rapid fire questions in a second, but I
Let's
want to
go.
take a moment to talk about be greater than.
Yes, we have to get into that, girl, because
So,
it aligns with everything
you're saying.
that I'm
Okay, so I
talking
really
about.
want to like just what is that? What made you decide to become an entrepreneur?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Be Greater Than was birthed naturally through myself and two other friends, Jasmine Harper and Randy Bonds. Randy is a publicist. He and I have like history. We started working together before ever meeting each other when we were 19 years old.
Wow.
After Single Ladies and like around that era.
Cool.
And
props to Randy.
I know. And have developed and like, you know, grown into friends. And Jasmine Harper, she's a dancer too. She was on So You Think You Can Dance.
Mm-hmm.
And then she also started dancing with Beyonce. But I knew of her from So You Think You Can Dance. I was like, oh my God, you're amazing.
Cool.
And then she like quickly became like my little sister.
Wow.
And then we've just been tight ever since. And so this summer we were shooting The Masked Singer. No one would know because we have masks on and you can't tell it's us.
Yeah.
But we're in there dancing like
Cool.
ooh, crazy
So
people.
cool. Is that a TV show? I don't know.
Yeah, The Masked Singer. Yeah, it's when celebrities like dress up like in these crazy little masks and outfits and they sing whatever. It's like karaoke and you have to guess who they are under there.
Huh.
It's so ridiculous, but it's so fun. It's like
so
one of the
fun.
funnest jobs I've ever done.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we were doing that this summer and Jasmine was like, me, Randy, and her went out to eat one day and she was like, you guys, I want to talk to you about an idea. And I'm like, I love it. I love it because I'm in my entrepreneur, you know, pour into me era. So I'm like, great. Like when friends are doing it too.
You gave yourself space for to go back by turning down the Beyonce tour.
You're right. I sure did.
Interesting.
Yep.
Okay,
and
knock
it's
on wood.
paid off.
Cool.
And it's inspired my other friends to do the same. And that's what I feel like is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So when she came, she's like, you guys, I want to talk an idea. I'm like, yes, I love it. And she said she just wants to build something for herself. You know, we spend so much time pouring into other people's brands and making that look great or shooting a commercial for Lowe's or whatever. And that's amazing for them. And, you know, like whatever, dancing with artists and touring for their visuals and, you know, everybody else but us a lot of times. So she was like, I want to do something for myself and I want to like have ownership of it and I want my name to be on it, but I know I need help and I know I need creative people to help like build it with. And so her initial idea was a dance convention.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, let's like talk through ideas. And we were just brainstorming. And it quickly, as we all just talked about like self-growth, self-love, the transitions we've all been going through, the pandemic, she had a daughter after the pandemic. And so that's made her priorities like change drastically, you know?
Yeah.
And we were just discussing all that. And we were discussing humble, the meaning of humble too. Because at one point it had
Which is what is that meaning to you? Because I do think that
girl, the meaning of humble is not like this beautiful meaning like what we would think. It literally means to like dim your own light and shrink yourself to basically make someone else feel like more comfortable. You know?
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be doing that.
Yes.
Why do we get complimented for being humble?
Yeah.
You know?
No,
that should be like...
I actually find that sometimes if you do that too much, your light does feel dimmer. And I think that
literally dims.
There's a beauty in keeping your light bright and lighting other people, like lighting other people's candles because it doesn't take away from your fire.
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes in like etiquette and culture, like you are taught to almost like cover your light.
Yeah, and be selfish with your light.
Yeah.
And that, you know, you can't grow without people. That's the only way you can like elevate and grow. We can't do all these things alone, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to share your light. My mentor, Frank Gatson, who discovered me in the hallways of Alvin Ailey, he always has this saying. He says, share the light, sparkle brighter. He's said that to Beyonce and Destiny's Child and In Vogue and everybody he's worked with. And that has always stuck with me because I believe in that and it really works. I've seen it. I've personally been a person of exchanging it and, you know, it's a beautiful transaction when it's done right,
Yeah. So then how did that idea turn into a company? Like, what is Be Greater then?
Be Greater Than is basically being pouring. It's a wellness and lifestyle brand, and it's all about pouring into self-love, self-care, and really just like discovering your truest and most authentic and highest potential.
Ooh. Sign me up.
Potential,
like who doesn't want that?
Yeah. And we all have it in us. And it's really about like, yes, we all have jobs and yes, we all have bills at the end of the day, but like not leaving yourself depleted at the end of it all and still being able to pour into your own cup after fulfilling your job or your duty for whoever or whatever it's for, still pouring into you so you can grow and evolve and just like thrive in life. That's like true. That's the era we're in. And it's just truly the best thing that I personally have ever experienced.
I love that. It's so beautiful. I want to make sure that we have time to do these
the
rapid fire
questions. Okay. Go ahead.
So in a sentence or less, what was the biggest, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this moment of your career?
I would probably say both the Super Bowls that I did.
You did?
2013 and 2016 with Coldplay in 2016.
No,
Coldplay, Bruno Mars, and Beyonce.
Wow.
And then 2013 was just
But were
Beyonce.
you hired by Beyonce for that one? Okay. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Jeez, girl. That, yes.
Cool. Yeah.
It's very hard to top that one.
Yeah. Those were awesome.
Yeah. Wow. What was the biggest, I can't believe I got here in a bad way moment of your life? Like something that you weren't anticipating that was just like rough.
Ooh. Oh my gosh. There's been quite a few of those.
Really?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's been a good amount of those. I remember there was this one, I know you said one sentence or less, and I'm already on like 5 sentences, but there was this one hand gag that we used to rehearse every single day of tour, and it was literally like made everybody go crazy. We were in it and we like had to be piled on top of each other, and like I just remember there was a point where we were rehearsing after a concert we did. So it was like 2 a.m. after the audience had went out. We went back on stage into this hand gag. That was all that it was called. Hand gag, hand gag, hand gag, hand gag. It like haunts me still because we only did it one time and then they were like, it doesn't work, scratch it.
Yeah.
And never did it again, but we rehearsed it forever. And I was like, I just remember being in that thing at 2 a.m. like, how did we get here?
Yeah, exhausted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Piled on top of other girls, like sticking my hands out of this thing. And it was just like...
I feel like I know exactly what you're talking about, and they look really cool.
Yes, it looks really cool. Like hands are popping out of everywhere, but it's behind a wall. And what's going on behind that wall
is chaotic
and not fun.
Yeah.
You know?
I imagine. Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So the next question is, do you have work-life balance?
I am constantly practicing it.
Okay.
So I think I do now. I think this is the best work-life balance I've ever had. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Which in a way is sometimes turning down incredible opportunities.
100%. I was just telling you about my trip to New York, and then after I planned it, booked the hotel and everything, and this is just for fun, you know, I got asked and checked my avail for a dance job, which is like a televised dance job, great paying, SAG, you know, whatever.
Wow.
And I was like, I have to just say no because I've already committed to this with my mentee and she's so looking forward to it. And it's okay. Yeah. These other jobs will come back around. Yeah. That's what I didn't used to have. So yeah. I would say I have balance.
Which I have to say, like, going back to a lot of things you said on this podcast, I feel like from the second I met you, you just have such a beautiful light and energy coming out of you, and the fact that you've gone out of your way to find people that are younger than you that you can help in an industry that's so competitive, that is kind of a ladder. And I think that takes so much love and also self-belief to know that you are a star and that will never get dimmed by like helping other stars get up in the sky.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
I love that.
That's beautiful what you said. How you said it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. If money, reputation, and relationships didn't matter, would you prefer spending most of your time at work or elsewhere?
Oh my gosh, if money and relationships didn't matter.
And reputation. Like, I guess, fame.
No, I wouldn't prefer spending my time at work. Absolutely not.
No?
I think I would prefer to just be living my best life at all times, you know?
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, I do love to work because it gives me like something to do and like focus on and like a task and stuff. But I can like create that now for myself. Like I know how to like, you know, stimulate my mind in that way now, you know? So
wow. I love that. So cool.
I love to live life too. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that balance. Sometimes that balance is hard to find.
Would you still spend your life at work?
I think I'm addicted right now. I think I know and I'm well aware of the fact that, you know, in the future I might not have the privilege of being addicted. But I just feel like we have this opportunity to create something, and I have to remind myself to unplug. I feel like the way I do it is just, I mean, this might not be healthy either, but like I don't really keep my phone on me. I don't really like plug in and like respond to messages, emails, Instagrams. Like that's I find that
smart.
That takes a lot of energy. Yeah. So I feel like for me, it's I work till as hard as I possibly can to like 5 p.m. Maybe to 6:30. My boyfriend comes home and I just hang out with him.
and then your balance starts. That's great. Yeah. I love that. I'm going to take a little piece of that because I do love to work too, and I love to be focused in the work, but phones and things can be so distracting, and especially like when you're doing a lot of different things too. It's like you can just easily be distracted. So
I find it makes my mind scattered.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm working on that. I should probably be a little bit better, but
no, it's okay. And also you got to do it while you got the energy, you know, like the hard work, do it while you have the time, the energy, and you want to do it, because life is a roller coaster. And like, you know, if we don't know like what the future holds or when the universe might sit us down, you know? So
I love that. Yeah. What's something you wish you had more of in your life?
Sometimes time in the day, like hours in a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I always want like more inspirational friendships too, where I can just like have a conversation like this, and it's just like it feels like we're constantly, you know, bouncing ideas off of each other, and you're intriguing my mind and I'm intriguing yours. And it's like, woo, learning something from each other. Because that's a big thing for me is mutually beneficial relationships.
That's so funny that you say that, because I feel like there's so many different things that people want in friendships that like some people just want somebody to have fun with, some people. But I feel like for me, finding people that inspire me and like know how to dive deep to like sharpen each other's saws. Like I think that when everybody's candle is lit, then you're learning. You're just like learning how to be. Yeah. I love that.
I always say be a sponge, and like if I can't like absorb something from you, like what are we doing?
That's so interesting. Yeah. Totally. I love that. Okay, we're going to play Would You Rather.
Okay.
We're each going to have 3 questions for the other person. I'll go first.
Okay.
Would you rather have every career highlight that you've had, but like, I mean, you'd have enough to survive, but not really make money, or have somebody hand you like $1 million every year, but no dance, no recognition? Which would you choose?
Goodness. I think I would choose. I mean, you can do a lot with both, you know, you can flip that recognition into money, but you can also
businesswoman in the house.
You can also use the money to invest in
recognition
and make more money.
And that's why success is always possible.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so
cool. I didn't really answer your question.
No, that you totally evaded it, but that's totally fine. That was a great answer. Okay, your turn.
Okay. Oh my gosh, I wasn't prepared. You got to think about these beforehand.
No, I didn't. There's nothing written down on the question.
Okay. Would you rather be insanely rich, but you cannot walk out of your door without being harassed?
Oh.
Or would you rather have the freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want, but you are always going to be stuck in an apartment?
Ooh. Interesting. Harassed, you mean like in a bad way? Because like Taylor Swift, for example, or Beyonce, I imagine, is harassed. But
yeah, like that
okay.
kind of like
fame
and like
fame.
Yeah, like you just can't do anything.
I
Kanye
would
West
choose
or
that.
something.
No, I would choose that for sure. If I had to give up coffee shops, like that's fine.
And like Rite Aid.
Yeah,
runs.
Exactly.
Gas stations.
I'm sure there's like TMZ photos of like Kylie Jenner in a Rite Aid, but
I know.
Yeah,
I know, but they make it look great the way they like avoid like paparazzi and stuff. It's like, oh, they never seem too bothered because they can just live their life still somehow.
Yeah, and I also think that to like when you think about fame, like it really means that whatever you're doing is resonating so much with somebody else. And I think that when you think about everybody as a soul, I feel like everybody wants inspiration and to have, in a way, like the privilege and the honor to impart that, which is what you do. I feel like that's who you are. I can tell already, and also with your mentees. I feel like that's like an honor. So yeah, I would love that.
It is an honor.
Let's do one more. I'm trying to think of one.
Oh, I think I have another one now.
Okay, cool. Let me think about this. Okay, would you rather never have kids, but never have to stop working if you didn't want to work? Like never having you, if you wanted to do the Super Bowl in like 10 years or 20 years, you could still have that optionality. Or have a kid, but maybe not get to do a Super Bowl again. What would you choose?
I would probably choose having a kid because I've done the Super Bowl
twice,
and I haven't had a kid yet. Yeah, you know,
okay.
So get that experience.
I love that.
And then rewrite the narrative later on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, would you rather? This is like very like Little Mermaid inspired.
I love the Little Mermaid.
Would you rather lose your voice or not be able to walk?
That's horrible. That's so true.
Girl, one time I had a raspy voice for like 6 months and I was like, what did I do? It was around my 21st birthday and I think it was like I was drinking a lot at the time and whatnot. But like I used to want a raspy voice so bad.
It's very
I was
sexy.
Like, they're so cute. Yeah, like so sexy. And then I got it and it would not come back. I was like, oh, I damaged my vocal cords for life. Like be careful what you wish for. That's why they say that.
Yeah. I'd have to choose walking. Yeah. But that would really suck. Yeah. Knock on wood.
It would, right?
And then I would find a way to magically sing.
Find Ursula.
No, I'm kidding. If you could go back and tell your younger self something, what would you tell her?
I would say continue pushing forward with no fear. No one knows what they're doing out here, girl. Yeah. Like, nobody knows what they're doing. You know, when we're younger, we think everybody like has it all figured out. Yeah. And then you get older and you're like, this is what 30-something feels like. Like, we don't know what we're doing still, you know?
Totally.
So like, no one knows what they're doing. Just go out and give it your all and be you and be charismatic and don't be afraid to be yourself.
I love that. Okay, last and final question. What is something that's under your covers that people might not know about you?
Ooh. You know, I mean, I feel like people kind of know this, but I'm like way more tomboyish than like girly girl.
Yeah.
I feel like it kind of, you can
pull
kind of
off
tell.
Girly girl, but yeah.
Yeah, like I have brothers and like I will wrestle. Yeah. And I will like do, you know, get my hands dirty and like get down and dirty. So,
woman after my own heart. It's so much more fun.
It is.
I think being like proper all the time, and I love getting dressed up, but I feel like
I do too.
Having fun is greater than having.
Guys love a girl who can do both too.
Yeah. I'm sure your boyfriend
like
is
Drake.
very happy. Yeah.
Yeah, the boyfriends too. They love it.
Okay, amazing.